So it's watermelon time.
This is a world premiere. This is a world.
So this may be the last watermelon of the season. I don't know. I just feel like, the watermelon's days are numbered. So before we jump in, I want to remind you guys that this next time you're watching MUKBANG with me, if you're interested in tuning in, you have an opportunity to tune in next week. That's going to be Sunday, October 2nd at 11 a.m. And that's Eastern Standard Time for people in the U.S. And I believe it's Greenwich Mean Time -4 or something like that. But please do, check just be aware of the time zone change. But 11 a.m. And so I don't know. I'm not sure what I'm going to be eating. And I can't decide. I was thinking maybe in celebration of the first live mukbang, maybe, do you guys want Ethan to come? And now this is terrible because now he's going to feel bad if people say, no, don't have Ethan. But, I don't know. It might be fun. Ethan may join us. And I feel like, I don't know, Ethan is... he's been helping out with the channel. The convertible series, I think, is something that people really enjoy, and it is an opportunity to watch someone in the process of moving into veganism. So, I think it would be cool. It might be fun. And you guys, I think, would like Ethan. I don't know, or maybe you would not like Ethan. And so, but we'll think about it. I'm not sure. So, today, I'm recording at the Circle Pine Center in Delton, Michigan. Delton it's about 45 minutes from Battle Creek, and maybe it's like halfway between Battle Creek and Grand Rapids. I'm not sure exactly where it is on the map, but it's in western Michigan. It's about 2.5 hours from Detroit, and I'm here on retreat with an organization called Solidarity, and they are working to get community-owned renewable streetlights, renewable power to the city of Highland Park. Highland Park is a municipality that exists within the city limits of Detroit. There are two, Highland Park and Hamtramck, but they're both cities of their own that, again, exist within the city limits of Detroit, but they have their own governments, they have their own mayors and such a thing. But a couple of years ago, they repossessed the streetlights. So Highland Park at night is pretty dark, and so this organization has actually been purchasing, they've been building a membership to do kind of bulk purchasing of items and neighborhood purchasing so that someone will have a streetlight just on their private property that's solar powered. So it's a really cool organization, and I think I'm being asked to be on the board. I think that's what this retreat is about. So we'll see. Anyway, it's been a really emotional morning this morning. It actually has been really pretty emotional because often Highland Park is a community that's, like most of Detroit, has a, high percentage of African Americans living in that community. There's, a high percentage of poverty. And, I don't want to talk about that. It's a beautiful community. But because of the resources that have been allowed to flow into that community, there is a perceived lack of power. And because of that, the city kind of takes advantage. And Detroit, DTE, which is the power company in Detroit, has really kind of been raping the city. And it's kind of horrible. So anyway, that's what I'm doing here. And if you want to, I'll put some information about Solidarity in the description box below. So, Marine Janine is back. And her first video was a 15-minute video, which is very unlike Marine to post a really long video, and I haven't even gotten to watch it yet because I've been on this retreat. And in fact, I snuck away from lunch, which is something else that I have to talk to you guys about. Oh my goodness. I snuck away from lunch, and they gave me all this watermelon. To make this video. Food has been interesting here. It has not been a vegan table. But it's been a very food-aware table. They're very serious about, I don't know if you noticed it, but actually, this is a huge garden. Most of the food we've been eating has been coming out of this garden. And then all of the other items that have been served have been locally sourced, which, as a vegan, doesn't really bring me much comfort because there are still animals being exploited. I think that they believe that these animals have been treated more fairly and haven't gone through the horror that animals in the large commercial animal agriculture industry. But it's, I don't want to be judgmental because, again, as often with people who choose to consume animal products, we're talking about people who are truly loving, people who are truly doing their best to, live their lives. And in this situation, it's really an institution where they're not just, doing their best, but they're really trying to have a smaller footprint and to think in terms of social justice and to think in terms of peace. It's just that analysis hasn't really embraced animals as part of our moral community. That's all. And it's a lot, but just that one step can mean the difference between someone choosing to consume animals or not. Just how they consider animals as part of our moral community. But something funny happened last night. We were sitting around the fire and we're singing songs, and somebody started singing that song. Woke up this morning with my mind stayed on freedom. So it's a song where you get to create your own verses. And so we're going around, and when we got to my verse, I sang, didn't eat no animals today, stayed on freedom, which kind of got a laugh, but people were like taken back by it because I haven't been, making an issue of the food. I haven't been making an issue of the food. Obviously, people know that I'm vegan, and I had actually brought up we were having an anti-oppression conversation, and we were kind of discussing norms, and I do want to have a conversation with you all about norms. So look for a video about norms because I think they're very important in groups that are organizing themselves to think about how you're going to behave differently than what is expected according to the dominant cultural mode. So one of the norms was to feel safe speaking your truth. And so the thing that I spoke was that I'm a vegan, and that I am affected by the fact people are consuming animals and animal products. But I know that this is not the space to have that conversation. We're here for another reason. And I think it just opened up the room to think about the fact that there was someone in the room who had a different analysis of the world than they did. And of course, it's a special group. It's a group that's come together to think about these things. It's a group that's come together around social justice. And so it is more possible to exploit that opportunity to get people to think about the treatment of animals. But again, it wasn't that space, but it was an opportunity for me to just plant a seed in people's minds. So during that sing-along, I sang that verse, and now we were at breakfast just a little while ago, breakfast this morning, 10 a.m. It's a little afternoon now. It's actually probably closer to 1 o'clock now. But we were, having breakfast, and they had made this amazing vegan spread that they had just spread out in front of the place where I was sitting. And so just that alone was so touching. It was just so touching. And then one of the people that was around the campfire last night said, when you sang that verse last night, it made me want to go vegan because you expressed so much joy about it. And I hadn't been thinking about, how joyful being vegan makes me feel. And I think I've talked about this in other videos, but the fact that we just forget about the power of love and our joy and our lives to impact people. And, not that vegans don't have a right to be angry, not that people who have an analysis of the food system and how we have included sentient beings in that system without their consent, and how casually that is embraced, and how casually it's experienced by people. Yeah, all of those things are a reason to be outraged. I understand that. But our joy and our love is so powerful. It really is. And I hope people will trust that. So, that happened last night. I made some notes because there have been things that I've been promising to talk about that I haven't been talking about. But before I jump into those things, I want to shout out someone who I believe is not a vegan YouTuber, but someone who is transitioning. So we have an opportunity here in the way we show our love and support for a video, for a content creator. Books are my social life, and I'm saying that from memory because I didn't write it down. It's down there somewhere. Oh, I didn't write it down. Anyway, so books are my social life. Check out that channel. It's someone who is living in Trinidad. It is someone who is Indian, I believe, living in Trinidad, who does book reviews and makes book recommendations, but like 4 at a time. So if you're interested, if you love books, that's the place to go. And I discovered Books Are My Social Life because they had been posting to the channel for a few weeks now, maybe a few months now, and I try to respond to everyone, but they'd asked a question in the Q&A, and their question was about books, and I was like, this person is really into books. And then I went to their channel and found out, wow, they are really into books. So please do check out Books Are My Social Life. So anything else about any sort of updates and shout-outs and things like that? I think that might be it. Yeah, that's it. So the other thing is just topics. Okay, so one thing that I have been promising that I was going to go back to was like the outcome of the... We're going to be here forever because I'm not eating. Was the outcome of the county fair. I didn't go. I didn't go. And I just made it clear to everyone that that wasn't something that I'd be interested in doing. I told them that it would just make me sad to watch all of those animals being treated as property. And, nothing against any of them, but, I understand that they're not there, but that it would make me sad to go. And my nephew, who is so loving, but to think that he doesn't understand that being's life might be as important to them as his is to him. So the outcome was I didn't go. And I could have gone and I could have made videos, but, I took one picture of the cows at the house. They were actually steer. I took a picture of them and I posted them to my Instagram with the hashtag Set Them Free. But I don't think YouTube needs any more video of suffering animals. If I wanted to show that, I could just go and find some and show you a clip. I don't think I needed to go through that just for you guys to see what... You guys know what suffering animals look like. And if you need to know what suffering animals look like, I can provide some links, but I don't even want to do that. So that's that part. So during our anti-oppression work, we watched a video that just looked at kind of the history of oppression, specifically in the United States. And it was specifically looking at laws, specifically racist laws that have been passed to ensure the subjugation of African people in the United States. Laws as recently as the 50s. Do you know? Because we're talking about Jim Crow all the way up into the 60s, kids. We had laws on the books that would ensure the subjugation of Africans in the United States. And it wasn't until, 1967, 1968, the Civil Rights Act is passed, that we have a law on the books. And I'm sure along with that law being put on the books, there was probably a lot of political pressure being put on the government from people all over the world, of all races, of all backgrounds, who thought that the racist policies of the United States were enough. Enough is enough. But unfortunately, we've seen now laws passed that have made discrimination in certain situations illegal, right? And those things are enforceable, I suppose. But you can't make people hire people that they don't want to hire. You can't make people live next to people that they don't want to live next to. So in some ways, you can't legislate love. You can't legislate love. And if we're not open, if our hearts aren't open to love each other, and I don't want to be all whatever, it really does come down to how much we love each other. And that's like all of each other, including animals, including nature, this planet, our lives, ourselves. And you can't legislate that. You know, that takes relationship building. Or not to use a term, it takes building relationships. Right? It takes building relationships. So, but one of the things that, so I said I was going to talk about reparations today. And I don't want to necessarily say that I'm for or against reparations. I don't even know what that means. How do you pay back what happened to Africans in the United States? How do you pay back what's happened to Native Americans? How do you pay that back? I definitely am not like an Old Testament law person, like eye for an eye. For every African that was subjugated for the last 400 years, should a descendant of a slave owner be subjugated for 400 years? You know, put to work for an African family for free? That's stupid, right? That's ridiculous. Who would do that? They did it to Africans. They did it to Africans for 400 years. So, people say, well, it was so long ago. Why are people still thinking about it? Think about how long you get upset if someone brushes past you and doesn't say, excuse me. Now, I'm not saying that you feel a certain way, but just think about how you feel when someone pushes past you and doesn't say, excuse me. Do you let it go right away, or do you hold on to it for a second or two longer than the event itself, right? How do you get past 400 years of the subjugation of an entire people on a world scale? And it's not as if European and American interests are now out of Africa. And so there are people still benefiting from the exploitation of African peoples and brown people all over the world. How do you repair that? And how much time is it expected that it will take? But people laugh at the idea of reparations. I was actually having it wasn't really a discussion. Somebody was just trolling, but I was trying to make it into something, meaningful. And they were saying, well, do you think that white people now who didn't have anything to do with slavery should have to pay for what, someone did 150 years ago? And, people say the past, but it wasn't 150 years ago. We had Jim Crow laws well into the 60s. But the person was saying, do you think it's fair? And I'm like, no, it's not fair. Of course it's not fair that anyone should have to deal with this bullshit right now. No one should have to be dealing with the legacy of slavery. But when those beautiful and amazing founding fathers whose statues are everywhere and who appear on like the currency, let's not even talk about that, right? When those, amazing, brave, thoughtful, brilliant beings decided that they were going to enslave a people for, in this country, 200 plus years, as long in terms of the founding of this country. What? I mean, what did they think was going to happen? They should have socked something away. Because they must have known at some point that the institution of slavery was going to crumble, or did they think it wasn't going to crumble? Was their intention that it be lasting? And if their intention was that it was going to be lasting, what did they do to indoctrinate a society to accept in perpetuity that African people would be subjugated in this country? Maybe they didn't do anything, and that, the alternative to an indoctrination is that people are just horrible. The alternative to an indoctrination that must have happened in this country to make slavery acceptable on the scale that it was accepted is that people are horrible. The same way people are horrible because they eat animal products? I don't know. I don't believe that's true. I don't believe people are horrible, but I believe that people are gullible. So again, how do you repair it? Where was the campaign to do the reverse of whatever damage had to be done to dehumanize people to the point where they could enslave another human being. Let's not even talk about the damage and dehumanization that needs to be done to make us feel okay about eating another sentient being. I don't know. How do you repair that? So, the punchline in this long joke is that we were watching this video and learned that when slavery was ended, and this is after the Civil War, when there was military force in place to enforce the, compliance of, Southern plantation owners who owned slaves, they were given reparations, not the slaves. The slaves were sent packing. The slave owners were given reparations for their loss of property. I don't even feel like eating this watermelon. I'm kind of sickened by that. And of course, history buries these things, so we laugh at the idea of some kind of repair for the descendants of a people that went through something that was horrific. I mean, free therapy? Something. Anything? I don't know. Putting that on y'all. What do you think? And if nothing else, the shame of it all. To know that was done to someone just because they looked like you. How shameful. Oh my God. Anything? Can we be allowed our feelings about it? Something? Should we just get over it? I mean, certainly getting over it would make everyone's lives comfortable. Of course, that puts all the work on the targets of that aggression, right? Just get over it. I don't know. And so today, we were having a meeting. It got very emotional. And everyone was confused about why one person in the room was particularly upset. And the truth is, we were all upset. One person was just expressing their feelings. And I think people were trying to police the way they were expressing their feelings. But here we are in this space, trying to learn about anti-oppression and talking about the legacy of oppression in the United States and in the world. And confused when an African gets upset. I've said this in other videos. That we're not upset should be the marvel. And it's not like I think that Africans are the only subjugated people. But I don't want to condescend to bring up other groups because I don't know what other groups go through. I do, reading what I've read, I'm often amazed at the composure of women, for example. But again, I don't want to talk about, I don't think that Africans are alone in dealing with oppression, but as an African, I don't like this at all. And I would love to see it change somehow. And I'm not sure how that's going to happen if there are people who don't want to come to the table because of their guilt. Or there are people who feel completely entitled because, fair is fair. We won. You guys lost. Lost what? Was 200 years of slavery some kind of a war that Africans just lost? Should we have fought harder? Should we have killed killed everyone? Should we have killed the slave owners and anyone else who was, culpable in that? What should we have done? I don't know. What does that mean? You lost, we won. Or that we were able to do it. That's some of the logic, that we were able to do it, so it must have been what was intended. I don't know. But for whatever reason, there are people who just don't want to be involved in the conversation. And I'm sure I'll get people who are confused and want to tell me, this is a message, because I have to think about this, because I'm going to be honest with you. The ones who don't get it are the ones who need to be who need to figure it out. The ones who don't get it are the ones who need to figure it out. So it's not like we can just say, well, that person will No, those are the people who need to figure it out. And so there will be people, and I don't know if you all read the comments, and, sometimes I get into things with people who are from something I've posted on someone else's channel. I don't know. They always want to say, prove it to me. Prove to me that racism exists. And that ignorance is their excuse to be racist. Because it's not their excuse to be racist. That ignorance, to me, is the evidence of the racism. Because the only way that you cannot see and understand, with all of the evidence of continued racial oppression in the United States, at least, and throughout the world, the only way that you cannot understand it as what it is if you don't value those lives in the same way people don't value the lives of animals. So people don't see themselves as speciesists because they don't value the lives of those animals. People don't see themselves as racist because they don't value the lives of those others. So I don't know. And I don't want to be the person who goes around calling people racist. That's the other thing, too. I'm going to do away with racism because people get so caught up on racism. Not everybody's a racist. If I say, I hate white people, that makes me a racist. When it just makes me someone who doesn't like white people, I'm not bestowing anything on, my love is not that important to the entire, race, the entire white race, right? It's not. Whereas the approval of whites is very necessary for the survival of blacks, or for the safety, I'm going to say, for the safety of blacks in America. Because when whites disapprove of blacks in this country, black people get shot. And then those white people walk away. And when blacks disapprove of whites, they feel the full wrath. They feel the full wrath. As I'm going to feel some wrath for saying this. I'm going to feel some wrath from some people just for saying this. But it's okay. Because I know that's not everyone. But we need to figure this out. We need to figure this out. I can't think of anything else to say to you. Remember, next week, 11 a.m., this channel. Oh, actually, it's probably going to be you now. I'll figure it out. You'll get the announcement, or you'll come here at 11 and I'll have instructions for what to do when you get here. But you can't see, but these are all rinds. And you know what that means? That's it for this video. Like it if you like it. Share, comment, subscribe. This is Reg signing off. Love yourself. Peace.
And I love myself. The world is a ghetto with big guns and dick inside.